I'm Paula Gregoire-Jones. Today we're going to learn how to make a necklace with fabric beads. This is a technique I actually learned from a woman in Japan when I was visiting. So the tools you're going to need are a scissors. I recommend having a cheap pair of scissors for cutting the tape with, and then you can have a better one for cutting your fabric with. You'll need a skewer for rolling your beads up on, and like a Q-tip or some implement to spread your white glue with. And I just like to have a little piece of paper to squirt my glue on with. And then your supplies, first of all, you'll need lots of materials. So I'll show you some of the examples of material that will be available at the Carpentry Art Center for you to pick from. So you'll need some kind of double-sided fabric tape. There's lots of options available. You can even buy like Scotch tape on a roll, double-sided tape. You'll need some kind of stringing material. The Stretch Magic is one of the better kinds. We'll have this available for you. Or you can use just elastic cording also. Your white glue, any kind of white glue, Elmer's glue. I happen to have the tacky glue. And optionally, super glue, and that's just to harden your knot when you tie it. And then beads. You can also have other optional beads to string with your necklace. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to demonstrate doing how to cut your fabric. How wide your fabric is going to be cut will depend on the width of your tape. So this is 5/8 inch tape, so you want to double the size of your tape. So if the tape is 5/8, so you want to do maybe 1.5 inch wide fabric strips. And I made a little template. So you can just make your little fabric template. This particular material is long enough so that actually we're better to go this way. I'm right-handed, so. And then you could just use this as your guide for cutting. You could mark it too on there. And if it's a little uneven, it's not going to matter. So that's one option, to cut your fabric strips individually. And this has actually ended up into two. This will make 2 beads because I folded it in half. So there's a strip for a bead. Another way to cut is using a rotary cutter. And when you do a rotary cutter, you can cut more than 2 pieces at a time. So you could fold your fabric over and use my guideline. I'm just going to use that to mark it. Then it's better to have a harder edge than to cut against. Okay. Yeah, didn't quite cut all the way through. The rotary cutter is what a lot of quilters might already have. But that gives you a faster option. I'll do one more time with the rotary cutter, but not quite so much material this time. I think I'll just do it with I think my rotary cutter is a little dull. Okay, so anyway, we have lots of strips here. So there will be a lot of strips already ready for people. You just need to cut them into the lengths you want. So to repeat, if you have 1/2 inch tape, then you would probably want 1 inch wide on your fabric. But if you have wider tape, which I'm using 5/8, then you want this probably about 1.5 inches. Okay, so now we're going to go into actually starting to make our beads. I'm using my ones I already had cut because I have a particular, and these aren't them. These are a little long. Oh, I guess they are. Yeah, I was doing 6-inch pieces of length. So your length can vary depending how fat you want your beads to go, but I would do probably a maximum of 7-inch long for your strip, or if you want a little bit smaller bead, you can go down to 6 inches. So I'm going to demonstrate doing the bead, and I lost my tape. There it is. So this is a double-sided roll of tape. So usually you want to put it on the back side of your fabric, but I actually, on this particular fabric, the wrong side is really nice. So I'm actually made some beads with the wrong side for my front, and then I have some with the other side, so that's an option. So you can see that here. Same fabric. Okay, so now we'll go back to putting your tape on. So you want to lay your tape at the very end of your, and leave it right in the middle, and as you're putting it on, spread your fabric out. If it's really wrinkly, you might want to iron it, but usually you can just spread it if you're using a nice cotton material, and that'll do it. So then you're just going to cut it off at the end. This is why you want to use a cheap scissors, because the glue sticks to your scissors and you don't want that to be on a fabric scissor. So then you need to push that down really good. Well, I found using a ruler works really nice for getting that stuck down really well. This is sometimes the trickier part, is getting that backing off. So you want to peel it from the edge. Doing it from the end is harder, but if you do it from the edge, that seems to work the best to keep your glue from not coming back off. So now we're going to fold this, and you can see where the line is, where your glue is. You want to fold on that line towards the middle, trying not to stick your fingers too much to the tape. And try to do it as evenly as you can. So after you've completed pushing down your fabric, again, you can kind of push it to make sure it's nice and tight. You're going to angle one end just a little bit, just do a little bit. And you want to make sure if one side there's a little bit of glue sticking out, you want to make sure you do the side that there's no glue sticking out. So now you're going to take your dowel, and we're going to roll your bead onto the dowel from the end that we just cut the little notches off of. And you want to roll it kind of tightly. So you have to go fairly slow. If you get it a little off after you pull it off, you can kind of adjust it. This is the part where if you had a little bit of sticky showing at the beginning, you're going to have a problem getting it off the dowel. Oh, I forgot to get my glue ready. So hold on. So at this point, I'm going to use the Q-tip and just put lots of glue on there. Don't worry about getting, too much. It's white glue. It's going to dry clear. Better to have enough on, and then kind of spread it on that edge so that it stays on there. And I probably should have something to wipe my fingers on. Here's a scrap. And then you slide your bead off. Maybe push it on. Now if your bead had gotten a little bit off while you're working, you can just kind of push it like that to get it straight. And if you have any of these little loose threads, you can cut them off. And then we're just going to set it down. You can see I have a few beads made already, and let it dry. So I'm going to do one more bead so that you can see the whole process. So again, lay it down, start from one end, center your double-sided tape pretty evenly. I'm going to cut it off. And then I like to use the ruler just to really push that tape down tight. You could use your finger if you're really strong, but this is a lot easier. And then taking off your tape, going from the side is going to be the easiest. And some brands of tape are a little harder to get off than others. So you may be harder or more difficult than what I'm doing. So then I'm folding it over so that the two pieces meet in the center. It's okay if they overlap a little. Just try not to get any glue showing in the middle. So then we cut our little notches off again. Glue on my dowel. So now we start from the notched end and we roll it. And try to roll it really tight. And you can always unroll it and roll it again if it gets loose or if you get off really a lot. So once it's rolled but that's about 3/4 of an inch free. Hold it really tight. Get your glue. And I put a lot on. And then finish rolling it up. And kind of put a little bit so that very end stays down. So this one's a tiny bit off. Then you can slide it off, push it down a little more, and there's a completed bead. So I'm not going to, I've made a lot of beads ahead of time already so that we don't have to make 16 beads on camera. For a necklace of the size that we were showing, about 14 to 16 beads is usually about enough. If you want it longer, I'll put it on so you can see how it hangs with about 16 beads. Doesn't match what I'm wearing though. So anyway, I'm laying my bead out. I kind of had an idea what I wanted to do here already with some different beads. And you can notice how you can use different colored beads. And I picked out some other beads that I want to put in between. We'll have a selection of these glass beads with a little bit larger holes too available. So it's nice to be able to kind of see what you're, looks like I have. And I didn't look at my patterns here. There. That looks pretty. Now on the end, because these will be connected with elastic, then you would just have one more bead on one side. So now we're going to string the beads. I like the Stretch Elastic, Stretch Magic brand, but you can use other things. This just locks when you tie it really well. So if you have a whole roll, you can just string it on the roll. And that way you're not going to lose your beads if you accidentally drop it. Otherwise, if you're just cutting a piece and stringing it, you might want to put a clip or even just tie a knot so the beads won't come out on one end. Because often when you want to hold it up to see what it looks like, you could accidentally slip out of your fingers and all your beads fly on the floor. Oh, about halfway there. You can also just do if you did probably between 7 and 9 beads, you can make a bracelet instead. I've also had people cut their tape in halfways and then make very skinny small beads. I didn't mention to you, you don't really, by the time you finish making your beads, they're usually dry enough to string. So you don't really need to let them dry for too long. You may not want to wear it till the dry is completely dry though. Okay, so then see how it slips out really easy there? So that's probably leaving about 3 to 4 inches on each side. That'll be enough for you to tie a knot. So I'm going to cut it off. And when I tie the knot, I say square knot, but it doesn't have, with this Stretch Magic, it doesn't have to be a real square knot. You could just keep tying crossover. And I like to do it 3 times. Pull it tight and then do it a 3rd time. And then just pull it really tight. Now we can put a little drop of glue on. One thing I like to do is because I like to actually thread the cord back through one of the beads. And then you can pull your knot actually inside the middle of the bead so it's not visible. And if you pull this, then you can cut it off. And so now you can't even see where the knot is on your necklace. This one looks a little small for me to wear, but it's stretchy. Another option is you could do this and make it into a bracelet. Okay, so that was our fabric beading class. Hope maybe we'll be having some other ones here at the Carpentry Arts Center that I'll be teaching this year. Anyway, thank you for coming.